The Airbnb. Recently, my cousin Dave from Macon, Georgia, came up to Toronto to visit. Accompanying Dave was his girlfriend Alyssa, his mom Ellie, and another aunt, Bet. Dave and Alyssa rented themselves an Airbnb not far from our house, which is itself not far from Scarborough Town Centre in Toronto. This area is known for its small main floor and basement pre-war homes, little stone bungalows amid large, sprawling parks and greenery. On their first night in town, Dave and Alyssa invited me, my brother, and another cousin over to hang out. While Dave and the other cousin were grabbing some supplies for the evening, Alyssa, my brother, and I were in the kitchen talking, when, from the corner of my eye, I saw a leg, kind of suspended in the air, like it was mid-step. My heart began to race, and just as I was about to alert the others, the overhead lights started flickering on and off. My brother, who is sensitive to energetic changes, chuckled nervously but said nothing, and since Alyssa had to stay there for the next few days, neither did I. The next morning I brought them coffee and breakfast, and we all hung out for a couple hours. Despite it being a hot, bright, sunny day, the house felt cold and dark. It became so oppressive I couldn't stand to be there any longer, and suggested we all go sit on the front porch, but Dave and Alyssa declined. As we sat there, my eyes kept darting to the hallway between the kitchen and bedroom, where I'd seen the apparition of the leg the night before. Nothing happened, but the atmosphere of darkness persisted. Again, because both of them had to stay there during their time in Toronto, I elected not to share my feelings. On the following day, their final day visiting, Dave and Alyssa had plans during the daytime, but in the evening came by to visit my boyfriend and I at our condo. When they arrived, they were both sullen and withdrawn, a huge change from their usual attitude. I asked them what was up, but they would only say that they were tired. After almost an hour of excruciating attempts at conversation, I suggested that maybe they should go crash out instead of forcing themselves to socialize. That's when Dave asked me if I'd noticed anything wrong with the house. I immediately knew what he meant, but pretended otherwise, asking him what was going on. He said that he hadn't liked the vibe of the place when they drove up. His girlfriend noted that the neighborhood was very quiet, with not a lot of people walking around. She specifically noted a lot of overgrown lawns, which creeped her out. They also said that the house was very dark and seemed angry. They told me they never fought in their relationship, but since arriving, they had bickered non-stop, leaving them more and more tired when they came to visit family. Alyssa said that on the previous night, she'd been having a hard time sleeping and found herself walking around the house in the dark for no apparent reason. They were extremely nervous to spend their final night in the home. My boyfriend and I told them they were more than welcome to spend the night with us, and to leave from here, they gratefully accepted, and after a quick trip back to their house, which was unnaturally still both inside and out, to collect their belongings, we stayed up till 4 a.m. going through what we had experienced. I spoke to my brother yesterday, who told me he felt something was lurking in the home and watching them from the walls. He said the reason he kept leaving early was because he felt something didn't want him there. And I got to tell you, Paul, I was reading recently that Airbnb is struggling, and I don't really feel sad for them.
Yeah, it's happening here as well. They've got greedy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And they always push it off on the hosts. Oh, it's the hosts doing it. Yeah, but you facilitate the entire transaction. So let's try not to absolve ourselves of guilt just so quickly. The thing that gets me is in this story, this woman was complaining that the neighborhood is empty. That's because all those houses are fucking Airbnbs. That's happened here. There are neighborhoods where a startling number of the houses are Airbnbs. So there's no sense of community because there's no one permanently in any of the houses. Oh, we can't figure out why street crime is up. Because there's no eyes on the street anymore, man. That's why.
I know when they had Eurovision in Liverpool the other month, there were some real problems where people had booked it straight away, and obviously some hosts weren't aware of what was happening. And I think one guy had booked 3 days for like 400 quid, and he was all right. And then he got an email saying, we're going to have to cancel your booking because it's now $2,000.
Oh, my God. And
so they were just... Loads of people were being pulled off Airbnb. They were kicking loads of venues off because they were just ramping it up. I mean, same thing happens at minute in Wimbledon with the tennis. People rent the house out for a fortnight for like $10,000.
The thing is, like for me, if you want to rent out your primary residence and you're going to go stay with a friend or something, fine. And if you want to profiteer that, well, stupid people will pay these prices. But if you're buying up properties, which would ordinarily be homes for people and families who are going to establish their lives, feed into the local community, and you turn those into Airbnbs, you're not great.
No.
And that's when the whole thing breaks down. Because again, I mean, it's murdered the rental markets in a lot of cities. And the ghosts are the least of it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this place deserves to be haunted.
Well, it's a very similar thing to what's happened in certain parts of the UK. There are areas of Wales and Cornwall especially where the locals have been completely priced out of the market because people are just buying second homes there and they use them for 5 weeks and that's it.
Yeah, I was
Terrible.
just reading an article was it the Globe and Mail, Toronto Globe and Mail? They were saying that of all the new builds happening in Canada, the vast majority of them are being bought by multimillionaires and billionaires, adding to real estate portfolios, and which are just pushing price. I know this is a ghost show. I know, folks, this is not the property show, so we'll be quick. The places next to us, they just built these condos, and we thought it was a row of maybe 6 townhouses. It's actually 24 units in this place. They are renting for $3,800 a month for a 2-bedroom. That is almost 4 times what we pay for a 2-bedroom. I don't know who the fuck can afford these things.
We were laughing in London. We looked, because I always like to look in estate agents in London, and because I find it hilarious. There was a flat for rent, and it was £3,200 a month.
Oof.
Even before you've bought anything else, your rent is going to be 38 grand a year.
I've never made that much money in a year in my life.
Well, it makes you wonder, because that means you would have to earn at least 150 grand a year to be able to live in that property, which is the price of a house in some parts of Sheffield.
Nick has a good job with the government. There's no version of the world where we could afford to pay that rent. And I don't make a ton of money doing the podcast, but I make enough to pay my half of the bills. And we would have to leave town. Even the drug dealers I know can't afford these prices.
That's when you know the property market's out of control.